I'm so excited to introduce to you Reverend Bennet Guess, Reverend Ben Guess, who is a prominent activist and minister. He gave me permission to shorten his bio, and even short, it's long, I should let you know. A prominent activist and minister who is the executive director of the ACLU of Ohio and has been since 2017. As such, Reverend Guess heads up a 25-member statewide staff team with offices here in Cleveland and in Columbus. And as we know, the ACLU works to advance political participation, voting rights, the criminal legal system reform, personal autonomy and dignity, greater inclusion and belonging for all Ohioans. Before coming to ACLU, and still, Ben is an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ, a former national officer and executive administrator in the UCC's national headquarters, which is based in Cleveland. He also served for many years as the UCC's Director of Communications. In 2014, Ben was a lead spokesperson for UCC v. Cooper, the federal lawsuit that helped bring marriage equality to North Carolina. Reverend Guess is a graduate of the University of Kentucky with a BA in journalism. He completed graduate studies in public policy and administration at Murray State University, has his Master's of Divinity from Vanderbilt and a Doctor of Ministry at Chicago Theological Seminary. I don't know what state you're going to go to next for the next degree. And he was honored for as a distinguished alumni in 2014 at Chicago Theological Seminary for his lifelong public witness for justice and mercy. Ben and his husband, Jim Therian, divide their time between homes in Columbus and Cleveland. And it is such an honor to have you here at Suburban Temple-Kol Ami, to have you teach and inspire us about reproductive justice and freedom. Thank you so much.
Shabbat Shalom, and good evening. My name is Ben Guess, and I am the Executive Director of the ACLU of Ohio. The ACLU, or the American Civil Liberties Union, is one of the state's and the nation's oldest and largest defenders of our individual and collective civil liberties. Through litigation, lobbying, advocacy, organizing, and public education and witness, we work to safeguard civil liberties, advance civil rights, and protect fundamental fairness and freedoms for all. With members in Ohio in all 88 counties, and I check once a year to make sure that's still accurate because I'm so proud to say with members in all of Ohio's 88 counties, and with ACLU offices in every state, DC and Puerto Rico, the ACLU has been fighting for freedom and liberty, especially abortion rights, since its founding in 1920. While the Dobbs decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, ending for now the national constitutional right to abortion, was a disastrous blow to individual freedom and bodily autonomy, at the ACLU, alongside countless other organizations and individuals, we do what we have to do and what we have always done. We regroup, we rethink, we renew, and we pick up the fight once again. Currently, thanks to the ACLU of Ohio and our lead plaintiffs, Planned Parenthood and Preterm, we have successfully stayed for now Ohio's draconian 6-week abortion ban, meaning abortion remains legal in Ohio up until 22 weeks of pregnancy. However, this stay is likely still temporary, as an extreme anti-choice Ohio Supreme Court is likely to be able to weigh in soon and stop almost all abortions, No matter the reason, no matter the violence that resulted in the pregnancy in the first place, no matter the emotional, mental, economic, or physical circumstances that impacted the person who is pregnant. This is why the ACLU of Ohio, together with the state's long-standing leading providers of advocates of abortion access, Planned Parenthood, the Ohio Women's Alliance, Pro-Choice Ohio, Preterm, the Abortion Fund of Ohio, New Voices, and URGE, which stands for United for Reproductive and Gender Equity, have joined forces to create a new coalition, Ohioans for Reproductive Freedom, who announced yesterday our intention to bring a constitutional amendment to the ballot this November in 2023 that would explicitly enshrine abortion, pregnancy, and contraception rights into the Ohio State Constitution. Dozens of organizations have already endorsed our coalition, one of the first being RAC Ohio, the Ohio Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism, and its broad network of community-minded, justice-minded congregations like yours and religious leaders across the state like Rabbi Allison. Thank you. Yesterday, the Ohioans for Reproductive Freedom simultaneously announced with our partner, the Ohio Physicians for Reproductive Rights, our plan to file this proposed ballot initiative next week with the Ohio Attorney General, formally beginning the process to collect hundreds of thousands of signatures. This night, this very hour, attorneys are still gathered with a 7 a.m. deadline to finish crafting the very final language from research and polling that we got back in our last iteration just this afternoon, and readying for printers at 7 a.m. and with drivers ready to bring those petition books up to Cleveland, where I'm going to meet them at my office at noon tomorrow, and we will begin the process of gathering the initial 1,000 signatures, which on Tuesday morning we will deliver to the Ohio Attorney General. You don't know how bad I wanted our timing to work out that I brought those petition books, and the very first few dozen signatures would come from Suburban Temple-Kol Ami. But we'll still find a way for you to get involved. In fact, we hope that you will sign up for our campaign. If you go to the website abortionaccessohio.org, abortionaccessohio.org, that will take you to our coalition website. It might also be easier for you to just go to acluohio.org if you can remember that better. And at the very front, there will be an image there that will say join the fight, and we hope that you will sign up so that we can stay in communication with you and that you can join the very Herculean effort that we will be doing in Ohio, starting once we get past the Attorney General and the Ohio Ballot Board, to gather literally hundreds and hundreds of thousands of signatures. This will be an effort that will take all of us to make this happen. And as we have seen in 7 out of 7 states that have brought this to the ballot, we know that the people of our state, like other states, will certainly enshrine abortion access into our state constitution when given the opportunity. So that said, I would like to reintroduce myself to you again, as Rabbi Allison said to you, as the Reverend Bennet Guess, an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ for going on 33 years now. I served 12 years as a parish minister in Kentucky before moving to Cleveland to work at the UCC's national headquarters here for 17 years. And my current recognized ministry, my authorized ministry by the United Church of Christ since 2017, has been to serve in my role as Executive Director of the ACLU of Ohio. One of my first jobs following my ordination and graduation from Vanderbilt Divinity School was with Planned Parenthood, working as a faith-based pro-choice organizer in Kentucky, of all places, and in southern Indiana as well. At the first congregation that I served in far western Kentucky We opened an on-site Planned Parenthood clinic in the church, on the church premises, the first such clinic in that region of the state. I mention that in recognition that my faith tradition has long recognized and supported the right to abortion and full reproductive health care. The National General Synod of the United Church of Christ affirmed in 1971 and since, quote, "The moral and scientific views of when human life began are so numerous and varied that one particular view should not be forced upon society through its legal systems." My tradition, which has 5,000 congregations across this country, with more than 10% being formed before our nation's founding in 1776, has long called and advocated for the repeal of all legal prohibitions against abortion, taking abortion out of the realm of penal law and making medically safe abortion legal and available to all. And that is why my work with the ACLU for abortion rights, for women's rights, for LGBTQ rights, for our voting rights, for criminal legal system reform, and on and on and on, is not just a matter of secular advocacy for me, but how I live out my call and my claim and my faith as a Christian minister in a tradition that teaches the dignity and worth of human beings to make for themselves informed moral decisions that affect their lives, that affect our lives, moral decisions that impact our physical, economic, and relational well-being and the best interest of our family members. And that's why I'm proud to join with you this evening as a person of faith and moral conviction today as we observe this Repro Shabbat, as called for by the National Conference of Jewish Women, the Religious Action Center, and observant Jews across this land and beyond of various traditions. In an amicus brief to our ACLU case brought last year against Ohio's Senate Bill 23, which was the 6-week abortion ban, 46 religious leaders, clergy and lay, and religious organizations and congregations all across this state, again, including your rabbi, stated to the court, and I quote, "Judaism focuses on the pregnant person's life. The focus of Jewish law is the saving of a soulful life, a person, defined by the word nephesh. A fetus is not defined as a nephesh. Rather, the Talmud recognizes that the fetus is a part of the pregnant woman's soulful personhood, rather than its own soulful being. Therefore, under Jewish law, the pregnant person's life, health, and well-being take precedence over the fetus." That same brief goes on to say, like Judaism, the General Synod of the UCC, my tradition, recognizes a spectrum of circumstances where abortion would be permitted according to a member's conscience and own religious beliefs, but in Ohio would be considered illegal under our most restrictive would-be laws, that is Senate Bill 23. And that same amicus brief, which made the overarching argument that one religious view in our state is being cemented into our state law, neglecting other religious viewpoints which are long-standing and sound. That amicus brief continues, and I quote, "Ohioans' diverse religious beliefs provide different instruction and guidance when faced with potential termination of a pregnancy. Yet instead of allowing people to turn to the tenets of their faith and counsel of religious leaders when faced with the prospect of terminating a pregnancy, Ohio's 6-week abortion ban, Senate Bill 23, prohibits pregnant people from following the teachings of their faith, puts physicians at risk of criminal and civil penalties for providing care to pregnant people that is consistent with both the pregnant person's faith and or the physician's faith, and puts religious leaders in the unthinkable position of counseling congregants, their congregants, that the pathways prescribed by their religious tenets have been made practicably unfillable by the state. This is the exact type of religious restriction that the Free Exercise of Religion Clause was intended to prevent, end quote. That is why we are gathered here as faithful people for this Repro Shabbat, praying these words offered by Rak, that the arc of the moral universe is long, we know, and sometimes it bends backwards. So we must turn it, and turn it, and turn it again, striving ever onward toward a world built on justice and freedom from all shame. Friends, allow me to introduce myself to you one more time. My name is Reverend Bennet Guess, Executive Director of the ACLU of Ohio, an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ, and a proud out gay man and a member of the LGBTQ community, who alongside you seeks to be a lifelong advocate for those who seek full options reproductive health care, including access to abortion. Why, you might ask, would this same gender-loving, cisgender gay man without children care about, even prioritize in my life, the freedom to legally and safely end a pregnancy? Because unless and until you have ultimate control over what you can do with your own body and what is done to your own body, including your sexuality, your reproductive organs, your choice to procreate or not, and your access to information about your sexual well-being, your health, and your options, then you are under someone else's subjugation. And as we are seeing play out now in the wake of the Dobbs decision, an unchecked government, aided by the forces of oppressive religion, will gladly fulfill that role for you. It's never lost on me that the same persons, organizations, and religious groups that oppose abortion rights are the very same ones who vehemently oppose birth control. They're the ones that oppose safe-sex education. In short, those who are most against abortion have no interest whatsoever in helping you not get pregnant. At first glance, that seems oxymoronic, doesn't it? But on deeper inspection, you discover their real motivation: attacking and impugning all sexuality, no matter its expression. The same crowd that insists that people with uteruses must carry all pregnancies to their ultimate conclusions is the same group that is constantly gutting our nation's safety net programs for the poor and the vulnerable, with young children always the first and worst impacted. Anti-abortion crusaders aren't pro-child, they are pro-patriarchy. Power over women's lives and decisions, that is their ultimate objective. The same people who malign LGBTQ persons as sexually deviant are equally malevolent about women who seek reproductive care, including contraception and abortion. They think they know us. They think they know our stories, and they can label us however they choose. They use their religion to clobber us. They use their sacred text to clobber us. They seek to steal our personal agency, but they cannot, shall not, and will not prevail. All genders, all gender identities of all sexual orientations need and deserve reproductive information and reproductive health care. My husband of more than 2 decades and I made a shared decision years ago that raising children was not something that we were called to do. We have long considered that a deliberate, even sacred choice. Other gay men and lesbians I have known, they have wanted to raise kids for as long as they can remember. And both their decision and our decisions are equally valid choices made in the best interest of our families and of the well-being of all children. Like you, I know women, both married and single, who have decided to continue an unplanned pregnancy. I also know women who have had abortions due to a variety of factors in their life, including the well-being of other children that they have parented. Both decisions are sacred, ethical, and worthy of respect and legal protection. Let's be clear, the judicial overthrow of Roe v. Wade is about restricting access to abortion, yes, but it's rooted in more government control over our bodies, what we can do with our bodies, and how and why and with whom we can make love with our bodies. Ironically, some anti-abortion theorists now want to prevent you even from having children if you want. My now adult niece and nephew were conceived by my sister via in vitro fertilization. That was a reproductive choice on my sister's part that resulted in two wonderful, beloved, now adult children. But now, post-Roe, many willing would-be parents fear that in vitro fertilization procedures could be banned under the guise of a pro-life argument protecting all embryos. It is as absurd as it is frightening. Subjugation is the opposite of freedom. Be it patriarchy and misogyny or homophobia or transphobia or heterosexism, those of us who care about personal and bodily autonomy will always advocate for full options reproductive health care, especially today as we see abortion access being severely restricted in state after state, Ohio chief among them. Every attempt to undermine abortion rights should be met with full-throated opposition, most especially from people of faith, from the LGBTQ community, because we of all people know what the real motivation is. On behalf of the ACLU of Ohio, we thank you for your support, for the long-standing, generous support of the Jewish community, particularly in Northeast Ohio, for your support upcoming for Ohioans for Reproductive Freedom and our campaign to enshrine abortion rights into the Ohio Constitution this November. Will you please join our fight, join our mass mobilization? As a religious leader, as a member of the LGBTQ community, I want to remind you that we are not going back, none of us. Thank you for continuing and leading this and all justice work, not despite of your faith, but because of it. Shabbat Shalom.
Ben, thank you. That was unbelievable and so inspiring. I'm inspired by your stole that says, imagine what's possible. And with your leadership, with Ohioans for Reproductive Freedom, did I just call that right? Yes. I do believe that reproductive justice and reproductive freedom is possible. Thank you.